What's going on, everyone? So there's a lot of emphasis on getting that other star, getting that other piece alongside Luka Doncic. Right, 2027 is the year that the Lakers are trying to gear up for, get ready for, so they can bring in a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo or a Nikola Jokic or whatnot. And look, if you can get either of those guys, you go get either guy. Like zero ands, ifs, buts about it. No questions. If Giannis says, oh, hey, I want to sign with you, you're not like, sorry. No, you go get him. You make that happen. However, right, there is this kind of talking point that has been going around. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it started with Jason Timpf, from The Volume and all that. And he talked about how Luka essentially, like with him and the type of player he is and the engine that he is, right? You almost don't need another star. You almost want just kind of the complementary pieces around him. And look, it's something that I've talked about in the past too, right? Like you want alongside Luka athleticism, defense, versatility, shot blocking centers, right? Like you want 3-and-D, floor spacing and shooting. We've seen guys like Giannis and Jokic, and those guys win a championship without another star, right? Without Jamal Murray is, a great player, but he's never been an all-star. He's not a superstar. He's not that guy that you're like, man, that guy is, the second best player. He won a championship as the second best player. It's because Jokic is just that good, right? Same thing with Giannis. Drew Holiday, excellent player. I'd love to have Drew Holiday. Same thing with Chris Middleton. At that time, not so much anymore, but excellent player. But they weren't really your second best. They weren't really superstars or stars or anything like that. They were more kind of those complementary pieces, really like your third options. But Giannis was just so great putting up 50-point, games in the NBA Finals and stuff. So we've seen over the years the model of like, hey, you don't necessarily need multiple superstars to win a championship, right? I mean, even SGA, right? Like Chet Holmgren right now is probably best as a third option. Jalen Williams is really starting to come into his own. He might, that might not be the best example. He kind of looked like a star last year, but he's kind of right now just kind of that all-star level player. Like people don't look at him as like, a top 10 player or anything like that. And I've talked about Lakers right now have 2 top 10 players in LeBron James and Luka Doncic, right? And I do think, and that's why I've made the argument, like, I don't understand why the Lakers are in a rush or in a hurry to try to get off of LeBron James. Like, who are you going to replace him with this year or next year that's anywhere close to as good as he is? Now, again, 2 seasons from now, if Giannis wants to come, it's like, hey, LeBron, we love you. Take care, right? Like, that, then I get it, right? Like, same thing with like a Jokic. If Jokic wants to come, then it's like, hey, LeBron, loved you, appreciate you, thank you for the championship. Good luck to you, right? Because again, it's warranted, it's justified. But right now, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get rid of LeBron and bring in what, Trae Young or something? Like that's ridiculous, right? So again, the whole idea of like the post LeBron era, right? How are the Lakers gonna operate? How you got to get that other star. Lakers have always operated on 2 stars, right? But obviously, again, if you can get that right complementary star, sure, do that. But like you look at Giannis. Some real questions. Can he play with another star? Right? Him and Damian Lillard didn't play too well together. Right? Now, granted, you didn't really have the opportunity and sample size, like in their defense. They didn't play a ton of games together to really have them work it out. But it was some questions. Like there were moments where it was clunky. There were moments where it was like kind of like, Now, again, maybe that works seamlessly. I think the likelihood of Giannis and Luka fitting better, I think is more likely than like Jokic and Luka. I kind of worry about like them being too similar. Again, you do it if you can, but they're basically the same player. Just one's a center, one's a guard, right? But just think, it'd be a lot of fun. I actually think Jokic and Luka would be more fun to watch. Like just like the creation and stuff. Like it'd just be ridiculous. More fun to watch than Giannis and Luka. I just think Giannis and Luka would just be a better natural pairing, if that makes sense. But I digress, right? Point is that I do think that there is a real argument. So I actually talked about this on several occasions. I made a video about it specifically. And this was like a month ago. So it wasn't like, oh, because of this. No, talked about like, I have this vision, right? In the video, I was like, I have this vision. You got Luka, DeAndre, right? Those 2 guys. And then you have just athleticism, right? The examples that I used was a Thero, you have an Arthur Kaluma, and a Darius Baisley, right? Those three guys, just three big, long, versatile, athletic, switchable wings, right? So you have DeAndre Ayton and Luka who can just operate and be that two-man game. And then you just have three just sizable, athletic, versatile forwards all slotted alongside Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton. And I was like, I think you can win multiple championships that way because having that size, that length, that switchability, that versatility, right? You now have enough defense and enough athleticism to mask kind of Luka's flaws. I mean, even your center would be hyper athletic, and you kind of keep that two-man game with him and Ayton, right? Assuming it works the way that I think it will. But like, point is, like, I look at that, like, that is kind of my ideal scenario for this team. That's kind of my ideal kind of sculpting of what I want this team to be. And then, you fast forward to now, and then you hear Timph, and, now it's kind of becoming this narrative, which I might have started, but no, in all seriousness, right? I think that it's just common sense, right? You like, even look at, Luka's teams that made the finals, and, like, yes, they have Kyrie Irving, but like, they really kind of came alive when they went and got PJ Washington, who kind of anchored their defense in a lot of ways and was like a completely different player than he was in Charlotte. And, Derrick Jones Jr. is just, you talk about a guy that is one of the most athletic players in the NBA and just kind of became that premier 3-and-D wing for them and knocked down the three ball at a consistent level and was just defending multiple positions. And then you got Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. And so you just had a bunch of athleticism. You had a bunch of athletes. You had a bunch of pieces around Luka Doncic that really complemented him. You had that other shot creator, that other scorer in Kyrie Irving that could help, which is why I think the Lakers could look to, bring that guy in, or maybe Austin Reeves is that guy. Still would kind of prefer Austin Reeves off the bench, but maybe they can make it work that way. Maybe it's like Luka, Austin Reeves, and you just have, and I talked about this in the Reeves video, you just have two like hyper athletic, like an Adu Thero and Arthur Kaluma, right? Let's say they both can figure out how to be, or maybe Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt can be, 36, 37% from 3-point range. And then Adu Thero, if he can be, 36 to 38% from 3-point range. You just have Vando at the 3, Adu Thero at the 4, and you just have those hyper athletic, versatile, switchable athletic wings, and then hopefully DeAndre Ayton buys in on the defensive side of things as a rim protector, as a shot blocker, and now all of a sudden you might be able to kind of offset and complement that, right? At that point, now you just need Reeves to be serviceable defensively rather than like, hey, we need you to defend the best player, right? Now he's defending the third or fourth best player, right? And then, with Adu Thero and Jared Vanderbilt and their ability to defend, 1 through 5, you can have Reeves defend, certain threes or whatever, and then Luka defend kind of that off-ball 3, or maybe, like the like a Chet Holmgren, right? Like, I think Luka would be fine defending a Chet Holmgren. Chet's not going to be able to back him down and all that stuff. So, you kind of figure that out in that regard. But I do think that there is an argument to the depth route rather than the star route, right? Just have this look at Dallas, right? When they went to the finals last year, they were just deep, right? They were very deep, very talented, very skilled. Now the problem is Luka got hurt and, he's out of shape and overweight at that time. But if you have the Luka that we're seeing right now, and if he really is the best version of Luka that we've seen, right, well, then now that Luka's good enough to where he can go win you, an NBA Finals. You just need the complementary pieces and depth around him, right? Have some balance. Yes, it'd be nice to have, another bucket getter, another self-creator, another scorer, a guy that go get you 20 a night on any given night. But DeAndre Ayton could potentially be that kind of second co-star guy, right? He's a guy that doesn't really need plays ran for him at times, but you have that two-man game with him and Luka, right? Like, so if Ayton, in a post-LeBron era is giving you, 23 points a night, like if he's a 23 and 10 guy, and Luka's going to be, a 33, 8 and 8 guy, and then, you have, like I said, let's say Adu Thero evolves into that, or Jake LaRavia becomes that for you, right? And then you just have a bunch of depth and versatility and just switchability and defense, right? Like, a great example would be like a couple seasons, I guess I guess you could argue Toronto's still doing that. I was going to say a couple seasons ago, I don't know how many people remember, but like Toronto was building, like intentionally building a roster full of like 6'7" to 6'8" guys. And they just like they were trying to lean into positionless basketball and basically have, every player like have 5 guys out there that are like 6'7" and above. And even like the centers they were drafting and stuff were all like, these like, like again, you look at Chris Boucher and you look at, Christian Koloko and these kind of guys that were just like these athletic, versatile, switchable kind of centers and whatnot. You had Pascal Siakam and OG and these guys. That's the kind of roster that they were trying to build. Scotty Barnes, and they still are, right? You look at, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, right? Like they have these kind of like long, versatile wings. That's the kind of team I think you need to build alongside Luka, right? Just have like 3, 6'8", long, versatile, 6'7" to 6'8", long, versatile, athletic wings. Like give me like 3 Adu Theros to put around Luka and DeAndre, and I think the Lakers will be good. But anyways, always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.